Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be fun. I asked my subscribers what is the single worst fragrance you have ever smelled, and today we're going to find out what you guys picked. Enjoy. So here's a list of the stinkiest, worst, most repellent, disgusting fragrances that you guys have ever smelled. And the first on the list is Maison Francis Kurkdjian Oud Satin Mood. Apparently, really? I mean, I own it. I can smell it without even opening the lid, it's that strong. But apparently, this is the worst fragrance they have ever smelled. I would suggest maybe smelling a few more fragrances. I can think of a number that are worse than this one. But everyone's got different tastes. It's a combination of rose and kind of powdery notes. There's violet, iris kind of notes in there, with a kind of a warm, sweet vanilla and a dark kind of rose. There's not really much oud in there, but it's dark and it's sweet and a little bit powdery. Very beautiful in my opinion, but it's the worst that they've ever smelled. Next on the list of fragrances you can't stand, Dylan Blue by Versace. This is just a mainstream mass appealer that millions of people like and wear. I wouldn't say it's the worst fragrance in the world by any means. Yeah, it's not brilliant and I wouldn't rave about it personally, but it's not a terrible fragrance, so you don't smell it and go, oh my god, this is disgusting. That's the reaction I wanted from people, but Versace's Dylan Blue is one of the worst fragrance they've ever tried, and they can't stand it, which is fair enough, but I could think of worse. The next on the list I'm going to have to read, and I cannot pronounce it, Le Agent by Asian Provocateur, and it goes like this. I recently blind bought that one, and oh my gosh, the sprayer smelled like a cockroach. The top notes gave me a headache and almost made me choke. If I'm going to spray it again, I will be rushed to hospital. She also references it as it's smelling like it's decaying, and references a mixture of baby powder and cockroach. Sounds lovely. Next on the list of fragrances you guys can't stand is Diesel Bad, and quotes here, fucking disgusting. What more do you need? Next on the list is Mambo from Liz Claiborne. I wore it in high school until we dissected frogs soaked in formaldehyde. I noticed a bass note similar to my memory. Yeah, if it reminds you of slicing up frogs in science class, it's not a good fragrance. That's from Eric. Next on the list of fragrances you guys hate, this is by Healy, James Healy. Esprit du Tigre. I can't pronounce names on the screen. I thought I would like it. Looking from the composition, not long after I sprayed it on, I started to feel nauseous. It's the first fragrance I tried that made me want to throw up. I purchased it along with a sample of Menthe Fraîche, also by Healy, which I actually really like. Another one I really don't like is Bat from Zoologist. There's a few fragrances that make me want to be sick. One of them is Interlude Man by Amouage. Moving down your list, Richard says, I have a 2010 aftershave splash bottle of Givenchy Gentleman, which on my skin smells like cat piss. I occasionally try it just to make sure, but every time I have to wash it off. Cheers, Richard. Mohammed writes, his worst fragrance he has ever smelled is Nasamato's Black Afghano, which is interesting. Fernando writes, oh my god, Annick Goutal Nuit Otali. I cannot pronounce these names. It smells so bad on my skin. The first time I sprayed this on my skin I thought I was going to vomit. I've never smelled that one, so it sounds lovely. Next on the list of most hated fragrance by you guys, Estee Lauder's Youth Jew, and it's described as nasty crap. Hannah writes, being stuck in a lift with someone wearing Christian Dior's Poison is like torture in the Middle Ages. So, Dior's Poison was one of the worst fragrances ever. Next up is Robert, and his worst fragrance he's ever smelled is the original Musk Ravageur by Frederic Malle, and he compares it to being smelled like a public bathroom in the middle of summer. Stale urine in heat, basically, and I don't disagree, it has a urinal smell to me as well. Next on the list, Diesel, Only the Brave. I hated it so much it was worse than Secretions Magnifique. Next on the list, surprisingly, is Pure Malt by Mugler. Worst fragrance you've ever smelled is Pure Malt, then you've got a pretty peachy life in fragrance. Moving on the list, Hellstone by Lush. I have never heard of it. Every time I pass by their stores I have to hold my breath. I wonder how come some people can tolerate the scent and work there the whole day without feeling sick. I've never smelled Hellstone, so it sounds not good though. Moving down the list of the most hated fragrances by everyone is Kenzo's Flower. I'll have to take your word for it that it's terrible because I've never smelled it. Moving down is Le Labo's Santal 33 as one of the worst, or the worst fragrance you've ever smelled. Moving along, we have Al Rehab's Cobra as one of the most hated fragrances in the world. I assure you that the Cobra used in this juice's name died in a sewer about a week ago. And its unwashed, decaying carcass was put through a blender with some perfume oils, garlic, and smelling salts. I like to wear it at work when I'm in a bad mood. You guys are hilarious. Cheers. Another one on the list is This Is Not a Blue Bottle by Histories de Parfum. Awful, total chemical mess that made me want to vomit, and I wanted to wash it off. Someone has listed Acquadigio. Really? I don't think it's the worst if that's the worst fragrance you've ever smelled, you're doing okay. Chemical Bug Spray, one of the only fragrances that actually makes me gag. Interesting. Fair enough. Moving down, we have a Serge Lutens, and I have never heard of it. Serge Lutens Musk Kabali Khan. I have no idea, I did not know that existed. Next on the list of most hated fragrances in the world is L'Eau Mesure d'Essai. It smells like robot urine. Robot urine, metallic smelling urine. That's a pretty picture. Next on the list of most hated fragrances by Tom Ford, and it's Orchid Soleil. Soleil. I don't know how to pronounce it. It'll be on the screen, but I don't believe I ever smelled that one. The next most hated fragrance is Annick Goutal Ambre Fétiche. It literally made me gag. That's been a while. Sometimes I consider getting a sample of it just to see if my opinions would change. I think actually, to be fair, taste does change over time, and fragrances I used to hate I can actually tolerate now. I still don't particularly love them, but your taste can improve to a point or change to a point where you can definitely tolerate things you used to hate a while ago, so I would revisit it at some point. Next on the list of most hated fragrances, Amouage Figment Man. Donnie Darko writes Tobacco Oud, probably. That one is not for me at all. I actually quite like Tobacco Oud by Tom Ford. It's funny. I do get that it is a polarizing fragrance and that not everyone will, same as Tuscan Leather is polarizing, but it's one of the few fragrances by Tom Ford that I personally actually like. Vim Wack writes Commodity Nectar, like mouldy, dusty citrus rinds that have been baking in the sun. Sounds pretty gross. Montal Oud Amazing, it haunts me. I couldn't get out of my nose for a day and a half after smelling it on paper. Spray it inside the house and it's nuclear. I've not smelled Oud Amazing. I might have smelled it actually. Oud Amazing. I might have picked it up in passing in Dubai, but I don't remember fully. But I'm not personally a huge fan of Montal in general from what I have smelled. Smart Fart is excellent username. Rhinoceros by Zoologist is really bad, hardcore, headache-inducing leather. Bond number 9, New York, Oud. Breezy Fragrance writes Zoologist Hyrax. Hyrax, the material, like the tincture that you get from it, actually smells quite nice. Like, it doesn't smell bad. To me, it just smells like wet rock. It kind of smells like wet stone. It doesn't smell pissy or shitty or anything. It just smells like a weird kind of wet rock smell. but not completely unpleasant. I'm presuming they've probably mixed things like castoreum and civet in there to kind of skank it up a bit more. But yeah, I don't think I've smelled that one. Terre de Hermès Parfum, and they say they're literally allergic to it. They got a sore throat every time they tried to wear it, so that's not good. I mean, it is possible to be allergic to certain fragrances. Paco Rabanne's Ultraviolet Man, never smelled it, is the worst fragrance they've ever smelled, and that's from Mark. Boss Bottled Oud, Oud Immortel or Jupe. Oh, 1,000,002, all sucks the same. People around me would say Bat is the worst thing I've ever worn, but I love Bat. Next on the most hated list in the world is Guerlain's Heritage, and they wrote, I smelled this on my arm in the store and I just wanted to vomit. Maybe something was wrong with the tester, I'll have to give it another chance next time. There's a lot of vomit-inducing ones today. Catherine writes, I need to dry heave every time I smell Jovan White Musk. It merges with my scent memory of spraying deodorant and unwashed teenage bodies. CK Obsession is also horrible. It was worn so many times it suited too few. Secretions Magnifique makes the list, no surprise there, with notes of semen, blood and sweat, I believe. Lovely. Almost at the end of the list of the most hated fragrances ever, we have Creed Acer Aluminum. And I believe I smelled that in Vegas. I smelled a lot of the older ones there, but from memory it doesn't stick with me of how it smelled. And the very last one of the most hated fragrances by you guys is Bond No. 9's Coney Island, which I don't believe I've smelled. Maybe I have in Vegas. Again, I smelled a lot of Bond No. 9s there, but it doesn't stick with me if I have. If you want to know my personal worst fragrance I've ever smelled, probably Chemi by Chemi is one of the worst fragrances, which smells like diarrhea mixed with caramel and synthetic strawberry sweets candy. So strawberry candies, caramel and just liquid diarrhea. Like, it's absolutely repulsive. It's got Indian oud, castoreum and civet mixed with caramel. It's lovely, but I'm sure some people enjoy it. That's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you a laugh. That is the worst, most disgusting fragrances chosen by you, my subscribers. So, yeah, take care and I'll see you all next time. Bye.